right, let's talk color mixing. I have an example here that's completed. We are gonna be mixing a color wheel, just a really basic one. And then you'll be mixing a tint, which just means adding white to one color and going kind of slowly from red to pink, but you can pick any color you would like. And we're also going to do the same kind of value scale using black, adding black and creating a shade. You will get a handout that says Painting Skills Day 1. I would go ahead and label everything so you know where, what you're painting in each box. You should have some tempera paint here. The palettes look a little crazy, however, they are clean, or they should be clean. It shouldn't impact the color of your paint. You just have the primary colors in black and white. You're gonna have to mix all the other colors. Make sure you have a brush, you have water, and you definitely need paper towels to blot your paintbrush so it's not too watery. You don't want to be adding water to these paints, okay? I have a disposable palette here. This will be nice and easy for some color mixing at your table. Okay, so the easiest way to start is with the primary colors because you don't have to mix those. So I'm going to just go ahead and paint my blue. Try to be nice and clean in your box here. And then I'm gonna wash my brush in the water and then rub it on the bottom of the container and dry it. It should be pretty clean. You really don't wanna go into something like yellow and have all that blue in there because it'll immediately turn green, which is the color that we will be mixing in just a moment. So I don't want you taking the green right out of the bottle. I want you to mix it. So I've got my yellow and blue in, and now I'm gonna mix my secondary color. These are primaries, and I'm gonna mix a green. Now, in order to do that, one rule you need to know is that you wanna start, anytime you color mix, you wanna start with your lightest color. So if you're mixing a pink, you would start with white. If you're mixing a green, you would start with yellow. So in order to do this color mixing, I'm gonna go ahead and move some of that yellow paint onto my palette, nice and clean here. And then I'm gonna clean my brush. Now I always see students like to just blob right on top, one color on top of the other, like that, and mix it. But I personally think it's a better idea to make a separate little blob of paint, and then you can slowly add the blue. That way, if it's too dark, you don't have to start over. If you were to just take a blob of blue and add it to the yellow, you would have to start over if that green was way too dark. It only takes a little bit of paint to darken a light color. So notice I have just a little paint on my brush here, and I'm mixing it in. And already that is almost too dark, but I think it's good enough. Let's see. I think it's okay. Now, tempera paints are not a super high quality paint. You will get a nicer color when you use acrylic paints. These are fine for beginners. It's fine for just learning how to color mix, but I personally would not use tempera paint for any kind of finished artwork. I would go ahead and use acrylics. Okay, so I want you to do the same thing here. Blue and red make your purple, and then over here, red and yellow make your orange. Now let's jump into the tint and the shade. Make sure you have a nice clean brush. I'm going to start with my red here, and I'm actually just gonna add it directly into my box. This is gonna be my tint. Now there's a lot of ways to do this. I personally like to do my bookends, meaning I'm gonna start with my red, and then I'm gonna try to get my lightest pink, and then I'm gonna kind of slowly do the ones in between. You wanna see a color difference. Same with your shade. You really wanna see a difference in each box. I'm gonna clean my brush. Now let's see if I can get a nice, really light pink here. I'm moving my white paint over. My brush was not super clean. I can already see a little bit of pink in there from my dirty brush. So you wanna be careful to avoid that especially when you go into the main palette. You want to try to keep it clean. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to add just a teeny tiny dot of red, and I bet that turns pink pretty fast. Woo! Now, to be honest, I think this is way too dark for my lightest pink. Let's check out this example. That's much, much lighter than what I have. Now, this is a good learning moment. So instead of just trying to add white to this, that might take forever. I'm actually gonna clean my brush and I'm gonna try again, and I think I'm gonna use this for one of the middle tones, okay? It's still a light pink, but it's not that light. So I'm gonna try again. Don't ever try to continuously add white paint to lighten a color. It might take you forever, and in the meantime, you'll mix way too much paint that you probably would need. So it's important to just kind of start over, if anything. So I'm gonna put the tiniest dot. Let's see if that's better. And I'm gonna just mix it in. Okay, that is much better. Okay. Mix it pretty well, and now I have a light pink. Honestly, I could have probably gone a tiny bit lighter, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm gonna be okay with it. Okay, so your goal is to get all the ones in between. All right, same with shade. Now I'm cleaning my brush. For the shade, let's see. I'm gonna use the blue. Now blue is already really dark. So when adding black, add very, very little. I'm gonna start with my blue here. Let me scooch some things up so you can really see what I'm doing. I'm starting here with my blue. Again, just the solid color. Now my darkest blue is gonna look almost totally black. So I'm gonna try to get my darkest blue. So I'm adding a little tiny bit of black here. Now, it will look almost totally black. Let's see. It's got a little blue hint to it. Need a little more paint on my brush. You do not have to use red and blue for these. This student used green, so that works too, but I wanna see, your goal is to really tell the difference between the tints and the shades in each box. All right, good luck.